This is Colin McGuigan for IFLTV in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
How have you got the gig?
Mate, the Mangan group.
You're blessed, aren't you? Oh, the Mangan group come through for you, did they? With your hat on. I see you got your hat on. Got COLM on the side, little, brand ambassador. So you are.
Do you know what it is? He's actually coming to this fight. He goes to all the matchroom fights.
Well, he's got any dough for me. I mean, why is he giving you money? Should be giving me money.
I've actually got a bone to pick with you. You tell me mid-morning. I asked you for a definition of mid-morning. You send me a Google definition of mid-morning, and we are now at 12:10.
You keep every time I delay you, you question my work ethic. Let me tell you what I've done today. I flew in. By the way, it's a mission to get here, right? So fly into Puerto Rico, go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning last night, up at 7 in the gym. 40 minutes of cardio, nice hard 5K and a little cool down. Then meeting, bit of breakfast, 2 conference calls, 40-minute interview with Matchroom Boxing YouTube, and now straight into you. So don't question me. There's a pecking order. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I want to ask you about this February 22nd card. No one's really spoke to you about it. How big is this card in terms of the world of boxing? Because in my time in boxing, I don't think I've ever seen a card stacked like this from top to bottom.
This card, I know we say it a lot, right? And let's be honest, the card top to bottom is much bigger than anything I've ever done. But on a serious note, this card is the best card I've ever seen since I've worked in this sport. By a mile, right? Myself, Frank Warren, Spencer Brown, and George, obviously, have been working on this card for well over 2 months. Obviously, we are what's the best way to describe us? We're the elves, right? Right? We just do as we're told by Father Christmas. And His Excellency has got this crazy vision. Like, we'd come back with a fight and he would go, not good enough. So,
give me an example.
Not necessarily, I don't want to say because it'll be an opponent that ultimately has been turned down, but like, we'll come up with a fight which we think's really good, like for the first, second or third fight, not good enough. I want a better opponent. It's like, mate, it gets to a point where it's like, you don't need it. The first fight on this card is Zhilei Zhang against Ajit Kabiya. That will open the show. The second fight on the card is Joshua Buatsi against Callum Smith. I mean, and it just gets better and better and better and better. And it's like, I've never been involved. I mean, these phone calls happen at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning with him, talking through these cards. It's a lot of work, I've got to say. But obviously our fighters are making a lot of money. We're making a lot of money. But I swear to you now, it's a right laugh. Like, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Where's my phone? I got to play this shit, right? Because it really made me laugh. This guy is hilarious. I've got a horrible feeling it's on the. Hold on.
Oh, you are such a prick.
Right, so I don't think His Excellency will mind if I play you this, but this is just an example of, excuse my French, the fuckery that kind of goes on. And actually, despite the crazy hours that we have to work, so this was after the Tyson Fury against OLEKSANDR Usyk promo.
Why did he say that?
The reaction is unbelievable. The best one. I was with my dad, showed him. He said he's never seen anything like it. By far, the best promo so far. Brilliant. The big mistake for your father is bring you to life.
I mean, like, I've got to say, and I really hope that fight fans get to actually see. I think they do see his personality and his character, but he's one of the funniest people I've ever met. Don't get me wrong, like, there's a lot of work, but people will say, oh, you're just saying that because you make it. No, honestly. Listen, if I hated the guy, I'd still be doing business with him. But he is so funny, and he just rips into me non-stop. I'll say, I'll come back to him on a fight, and he'll just reply, fuck you. I go, what do you mean, fuck you? He sent me, every time we announce a show, like we did a promo for Bloodline, which was really good, and he's like trying to copy my promos, like basically it's not on my level, and it's like, yeah. So Feb 22nd, just phenomenal. I mean, I'm delighted that Dimitri's got the rematch. When do you see a rematch happen that quick for a fight like that? That was as controversial or as close as that. Obviously, Madrimov against Ortiz, unbelievable. Shakur against Schofield, fair play to Schofield for stepping up for that fight. Dubois against Parker. Callum Smith against Buatsi. Caballero against Zhang. I mean, I've just never seen anything like it. So great times for boxing. And who knows when the train is going to stop. But as I always say, right now, it's choo-choo and full steam ahead.
When you're making a card like that, there's obviously some glaring exceptions, one being Jerome Boutenis. We heard a little bit from Turkey on Ade and Ariel's show on DAZN. What is your take on this whole situation with Boutenis, and why is he not on the card? And are you disappointed he's not on the card?
Really, I mean, it all comes down to his decision to move up in weight. So, as you know, Boots is the IBF welterweight world champion. He wants to unify. He's desperate to win other championships. After the last fight, he said in the ring, maybe it's time to move to 154. And the communication was, if we move to 154, we have no problem fighting Virgil Ortiz. I love that fight. I really like Virgil Ortiz, and I love Robert Garcia, but I really like that fight for Boots. The offer came in. At first, the offer was at 47, but I think that was actually a genuine mistake rather than anything. Quite surprised us. Then I checked. Then it was at 154. And I went back to Boots and said, look, it's time to make a decision. Do you want to move up or do you want to stay at 47? And he's only a couple of weeks since his fight. He's been on holiday. He's like, all right, well, when do I have to decide by? It's like, tomorrow? Blimey. Well, where do we stand? I said, look, we've got offers out with Stanionis and we're speaking to Norman and Barrios and blah, blah, blah. But it's up to you, mate. Like, whatever you want to do, I'll support you 100%. And he made the decision to stay at 147 and unify. That's it. I know like fight fans like to sort of drum up this agenda. It's really simple. You're not going to see us move into 54 and fighting someone else. So when you see Boots' next fight, you will go, fair enough. But if he moved to 54, we take the fight like that. But to make that decision, ultimately, when time was up, the answer was no. I want to stay at 47. So that's it. So Madrimov will jump in against Ortiz in a great fight, and I believe he'll beat him. But if he doesn't, and Boots moves to 54, but I promise you this, you will see Boots in either a unification or a mega fight next in the spring at 47, not at 54.
In Philadelphia?
Quite possibly. Could be in Vegas. I don't want to go into the fights we're discussing at the moment, but they are huge fights.
I want to ask your opinion on Madrimov. He's such a throwback fighter. I shared that message you sent me because I messaged you saying, is he off the Fury Usyk card? And you said no. No one could believe it. Just talk to me a little bit about his mindset in Israel Madrimov.
Madrimov has been dying for opportunities for so long. Like, don't forget.
But there's dying for opportunities, and then there's going into a fight, 3 or 4 weeks later?
Forget, like, people say, oh, he won't be ready. Oh, look, there is a chance in the fight he could get a huge cut and he's out. But if he wins the fight, and I don't think, this isn't like, I saw Bokacic say, oh, it's, disrespectful. We were offered the fight, and the answer is, if we're ready and we win, we're 100% in. But, if you get a bad cut or an injury, it could be a problem. But Madrimov is full steam ahead for all smoke. That's it.
Is there a backup plan if Madrimov does say get cut?
At the moment, no. So, it's only a couple of weeks away. December 21, so got time.
Liam Smith came out, said you're not too happy with him. What did you make of those comments? And are you not too happy with Liam Smith?
I get on well with him, Liam, but I'm very real. And all I said to him was, we had an opportunity to go in January with Liam. But to be fair to him, he probably did the right thing because he can't make 160 for the date that we gave him, and he didn't want to fight at 164, 165 because it just don't look right. He's a 154 pounder that moved to 160, and to start creeping towards super middle, I think he's right. But I just sort of said, look, we've been speaking for 2 or 3 weeks. I think Liam's just at a different stage in his career, whereas probably the Liam I knew 3 years ago or 2 years ago might have gone, oh yeah, like 3 weeks ago, 100%, I'll take that date, I'm headlining. The fight was Michael Zarafa, which I thought was a really good fight for him and Zarafa at 160. But he's considering his options, and listen, he's got money, he's achieved a lot in the sport. It wasn't that I wasn't happy with him. I just sort of wound him up a little bit and said, you're not really the same Liam Smith, are you? Do you know what I mean? And he bit. But it's all friendly. I love Liam and the whole family. But I think overall he made the right decision rather than fighting at 164, 165 in a lacklustre performance.
I want to ask your opinion on Ben Shalom's comments. He said yesterday or the day before, I believe, that if Conor Benn doesn't take the Eubank fight, it'll be the worst decision in boxing history, or in sports history, I think he said.
Sports history. I was going to tear Ben Shalom a new arsehole, but I had a good chat with Ben Shalom the other night on the phone.
Really?
Yes. It was about midnight, quarter to midnight, and I'd received an offer for him, and I was talking to His Excellence, and there was a lot going on. I just thought I'm going to phone him, so I phoned him. And he picked it up and he went, hi. And I went, hello, Ben. And he went, you're calling me late? I said, I know. This is what I do. I work all night. So we actually had a productive chat, to be honest with you. I'll just lay it out straight for you. The only way this fight happens is 50-50. And it's just ridiculous that we're even having this conversation. Because it's like, we got offered 60-40. Then it was 55-45. And all you're doing is just winding people up to push them elsewhere. And Ben will say, well, Eubank will, he's turned big fights down before. He'll go and fight Esrende Lara. He will fight a 42-year-old in front of about 800 people and lose every round.
For a world title, though.
What?
For a world title?
What, and lose every round? Brilliant. Great business. And get about £1.5 million. But I mean, yeah. Or, like, he goes, yeah, but Eubank's boxed on pay-per-view before. Who gives a shit? Conor Benn's number 1 in the world, number 3 in the world, number 4 in the world. They need each other. So at 50-50, this fight is made. But Conor, now, what you do is you piss people off. Now, Conor's going to me, I don't want Eubank, I just want Barrios. He's sending me pictures of his dad's WBC world title in his garage, saying, I can win the world title in London. And by the way, it would be epic. And I believe he beats Barrios, right? But he could make 3 times more money to fight Chris Eubank. And I believe he smokes him. And then we fight Barrios after. But either way, it's a gamble. And when you talk about splits and everything, just remember one thing. Conor Benn is coming up from 147 to 160. Eubank is making the same weight that he makes all the time. He won't allow a rehydration clause, right? Conor is at a massive physical disadvantage in this fight. But guess what? They make the deal, they both make a fortune, they give us unbelievable entertainment. So stop fucking around everyone. That's what I said to Ben. 50-50, done deal. And it's not, we control the show, you could. No, it's a co-promotion. And we all work to maximise the revenue of the event. Simple.
How likely do you think it is that, now you've spoken to Ben on the phone, which is a big hurdle that you've overcame because you haven't really spoke before that, how likely do you think that we see this fight possibly next? If it's only 5%, you're saying 55-45 is the last offer.
I think it's on Eubank, honestly. Like, Conor is more than happy to fight for the world title in London. And I know it's like, yeah, well, Eubank can too. There's a difference where Conor's in a 50-50 for the world title. Eubank, Lara won't lose a round against Eubank, and he's 42. It's like the most dead fight going, right? So I'm going to speak to Ben. I'm not going to rattle him up. I'm not going to rattle Eubank up. Eubank is very important in this fight. Obviously, so is Conor. I've been here so many times in fights just like this, where two people can't stand each other, when we're arguing over 5% here, 5% here. And I'm just telling you, give your head a wobble and all agree and it's done. And if not, we'll move on. But there is a chance to make the fight. Obviously, you know, His Excellency likes the fight. You know, there's a potential involvement, perhaps. Who knows? But a calm head. And this is what my conversation was to Ben, to reach out and say, calm. Little old head. You know, like, what does he call me? 50-year-old or whatever I am. Just calm. Let Frank Smith and, you know, them two go out. It's all good for the game. But a little bit of advice, a little bit of mentoring. To say this is, because he's, you know, Ben's thinks he gets hard done by a lot of the time, thinks that the world's against him, thinks that this fight was blocked from that show. It's all a load of bollocks. It's quite straightforward. Play the game and let's make money. That's it. And let Conor and Eubank make an absolute fortune and just get on with it. But we'll see. I'm going to speak to him today, but the communication's there. We'll see where we get to.
Tank Davis yesterday, at 2 days ago, press conference said that he's kind of tired of boxing. He wants to retire. What did you make of those comments?
Yeah. I mean, number one, it's not good for the promotion of the show. He come across quite, I mean, I didn't mind the honesty, if I'm being genuine. Was he saying he wants to have therapy and he's got two? That makes a lot of sense, right? You got to be a horrible, bad motherfucker if you want to be a serious fighter, right? He is. There's no doubt about that. Tank is a bad, nasty motherfucker who's got power in both hands. He's a savage. When you start, and this is not a criticism, when you start becoming a little bit mentally and emotionally soft, you can change as a fighter. But I haven't watched all his clips and everything. I just saw a couple of headlines, so I might be wrong on this. But it's like, what he's saying is maybe he doesn't want to be that guy anymore. He's made his money and he wants to, you know, have a great relationship with his kids, and, you know, which is actually a nice thing. And I think he's quite honest to say, but if I do that, I might lose my edge in the ring. So, yeah, it was quite humble. I quite liked it, but it's not, you know, people want to see that beast at the press conference. But, you know, I think he was genuine in his comments, and fair play to him.
I want to ask you a few questions on the schedule. So, the US 2025 schedule, I think I'm not out of place in saying it's going to be Pacheco, Steven, Nelson at the end of January. What else have we got lined up, Edward?
So we will be announcing our schedule next week for the UK and the US. In the US, we will go Jan 25th, March the 8th, March the 15th, and April. In the UK, we will go either Jan 17 or Jan 25th. We will go Jan 31st. We will go Feb 15. We will go March 1st. We will go March 30th. There's a lot of shows to announce, and the main thing is the early shows, because obviously trying to lock in these January cards. So that was one of the calls that I had to push you back for this morning, if that's okay.
Can you give us some of the headliners? Who's?
Because when I announce it, I want to announce the full card. Yeah, but you say, like, it's the most, like, lame thing to start giving you the information ahead of an announcement.
What, the loyal IFL viewers who tune into you hundreds of thousands of times a week whenever we're on these shows.
Loads of snippets. So
yeah, but give us, like, come on, headliners. We know Pacheco, Vegas, but, like, is there an East Coast fight in there in March you speak about?
Yes, there is. I mean, look, I'll give you, from a UK perspective, obviously everyone knows that the potential Catterall Barboza fight, potentially for the world title or the interim title, or Catterall potentially against the winner of Paro against Hitchens, who knows. And Lewis Crocker against Paddy Donovan, which has now been ordered as a final eliminator for Boots Ennis, which is a big deal. It's obviously a fight that's in play. Dalton Smith's got to get out in a fight. Obviously, you've got the professional debuts. There's a really good next-gen card coming as well at the end of Jan. From a US perspective, Pacheco, Nelson, yes, we are in the negotiations with my old mate, Terence Crawford. It's going to be a lot of fun if that gets made. Obviously, you've got Belanga coming back. You've got Jerome Boots Ennis. He's going to be in a mega fight. You've got Bam Rodriguez in the first quarter as well. So,
who's likely opponents for Bam?
I want to make the unification. You know, I'd love to make the winner of the big fight in Japan, but also the IBF title is vacant and being contested on the same card. You've got the Chocolatito fight as well, but for me, I would like to make the unification.
You spoke about 4 Olympic signings when we spoke before. You've announced Pat Brown and Taramona Jr., who I spoke to you about. 2 from 2 other countries. Are they American and Mexican fighters, and are we likely to see some soon?
We've got 2 Olympians that we will be announcing within the next, I'll say a week, could be 10 days. Both international fighters. One is American, I'll tell you that.
Zelfa Barrett, any word on his next?
No, he had not really some issues, but some paperwork that wasn't secured in time. The board requested some further information on. Nothing major at all. He was actually due to fight, I think, this weekend, or last weekend, sorry. But looking for a big fight. I might make Ray Ford against Zelfa Barrett, to be honest. I think it's a great fight. And you know, Zelfa's up for a big fight. Likely
to work with Josh Taylor, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, the slot didn't work for January because the trainer had Darren Till. But listen, we're a bit log jammed on shows, but potentially, yeah, I think he's a great fight. Obviously now we've got Cambosis, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
Cully Maxie Hughes. Where does the winner go from that fight, Edward?
I love the fight, to be honest with you. I mean, it's quite random, but it's just a perfect fight for both. Both guys need a big win to land a big fight on the world level, and that's what that fight does. So Monaco next weekend, part of a huge show, and a real 50-50 fight.
Have you spoke to Anthony Joshua over the past few days, week, and what's the conversations been like?
I mean, he's going to be out in Saudi to watch the big fight, and then we'll make a decision. He's still getting a lot of sort of physical treatment. I mean, someone asked me, we've heard he's got a major injury. No, he's got niggles. Like, he's not ready to go into full camp still, and it's December. So his full camp won't start till the new year. Expect to fight, I know, May, June, something like that. But obviously a lot depends on what happens in Saudi with Fury Usyk.
And would you like to make Fury AJ if Fury comes through that against Usyk? Is that the one that you think you'll make, though?
Probably the worst question you've ever asked me.
But is that the one that you think that you'd be able to make? Because we've heard conversations before where they've kind of said...
If Fury wins, and I'm actually leaning towards him, had a little bit of a... And... Fury could fight AJ for the unified world heavyweight title. The biggest fight ever in the sport.
Wembley,
Riyadh, wherever His Excellency wants to make it.
Edward, appreciate your time, mate.